Okay, so let's gonna start. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a real story about self-managed teams. But Diego, I don't know if self-managed teams are a myth or a reality. I don't know.
So let's ask our audience, Irla, how many of you know what a self-managed team is? Okay, raise your hand, please. Okay, so how many of you know someone that is part of a self-managed team or a self-managed team itself? How many of you? Raise your hand. Okay, okay, more or less. Well, okay. And how many of you, last question, how many of you is part of, have been part of a self-managed team? Okay, well,
Interesting.
interesting.
Interesting. Okay, perfect. So, as Simon Sinek said, start with why. So, why this talk? Okay. So we have 10 years of experience. We are from Thinking With You. We are the co-founders. We are a company which helps other organizations in the process of evolution. And sometimes we help them with these self-managed experiments. We have our own model from the beginning with a self-managed governance. So here is our experience, but today we are not talking about us. We are going to talk a customer we help, okay?
Why is that? Because although it may seem strange, there is not too much literature about self-managed teams, and neither there are too many real experience shared in detail.
Okay, in previous talks we have talked about our own model, but today we're going to talk about one of our biggest customers we have in a hierarchical structure, and how we accompany them in this process of changing from a hierarchical to a self-managed structure.
So our intention is simple, to share with you the experience and hope we brings to you value and hope maybe can inspire you.
Okay. So a bit of context maybe they need to understand.
Okay, so we're talking about an international pharma that had been in a transformation process for about 2 years here in Spain, and they are 500 people, and all of them were involved in the transformation process. So the organization wants to go a step forward in the transformation. So okay, so let's try self-management.
Okay. So in more detail, we worked with 5 teams, 30 people, and these were the teams: procurement, congress and events, legal and compliance, business training, and medical support. So very different contexts and different situations for all of them.
So we were the change partner of the organization, and we helped to launch and to evolve the transformation process. So in this situation, our role was kind of similar, is to help to create the teams, to support them, and to help them grow.
Okay, so let's gonna start with the journey.
Well, so the first thing, before the kickoff, we create a mixed team of people from HR, some directors, and people from transformation, to put all of them together, working and talking about the expectations, red lines, the journey, the value that they expected. So when they finish and they talk about this design, the next step was to communicate to the teams and to the people.
Okay. And after this formal communication, okay, we have a more private and close space with them. So we could explain why them, why these teams, why self-managed, why now this? Because we had different situations, okay? 30 people, 5 teams, completely different situations, about feelings, about fears, To give you an idea, there were some people that thought that they would lose their job with this experiment, okay? And there were another people that thought that this was a downgrade in this career, not a downgrade. Some people felt as a downgrade. From the organizational design point of view, we had new teams, the creation of new teams didn't exist before, and existing teams that we need to redefine the way of working, okay? And last, we had different levels of knowledge. As Diego said, the organization was in a process for 2 years, so there were different levels of knowledge about agility, self-managed, and of course, new styles of leadership and that kind of thing. So we had a very different situations and context, okay, with these 5 teams.
So, as you know, the most important thing in a change process is people and purpose. So the first thing was to align all of these people. Well,
how we did it?
To align those people, we created 2 different spaces. The first one, to work with all of them all together, and this is the community of practice. We created a community of practice of self-management. And the second one is a more local space to work with each team. So, the community of practice, what was their purpose? The first one, to share, learn, and support from each other. All people were together, so. The second one was to learn all together about self-management. The third one, to create a model that helps next teams, next future teams. And the last one, to share with the organization the learnings and the evolution of the process. So, as Sidra said, and talking about alignment, we use this space to align all the people. And the first thing we did was to talk about expectations and talk about feelings, how they were feeling, what was their expectations, what expect the organization from them. And the next one is align about self-management. What is self-management? Do you know anything about self-management? Oh, I know something. Okay. So let's run a train and go be aligned about self-management.
It's very interesting that we create first these two spaces, because in other opportunities we started from training, and the problem is you start training people is that problems and their worries and that kind of things emerge in the training, and you don't want it. You want to train, and people learn. So it's very interesting first create these kind of spaces at 2 levels, the community of practice at the team level, so you can manage expectations and feel it before train people. Okay.
Sorry, I have a question. Community of practice. What are you referring to? Practice. What is practice? Practice. You say community of practice.
Yep. It doesn't matter a lot the name. It's about to pull all the people together to be aligned about expectations, fears, and about self-management itself.
And it's a practical space, it's not theoretical. So we will explain maybe later in the talk, more in detail about this.
But to understand your question, what was?
No, I mean,
What we're practicing in the community.
there are a lot of different communities of practice.
Yeah.
So
Is-
we're going more on the self-organization practice stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the name of community of practice was usual for them, so we used that name. But the mission, the purpose, was to put all together to work in about alignment around self-management. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a common space for all together, okay? 30 people, 5 teams. And we have the other level, the other space is more private and safe, and we need to adapt to the local context and needs, and of course the different way of workings that, for example, a procurement team or an event team has. It's completely different, the context and the way of working maybe they do. So it's interesting to have two levels, the global, when we can talk, share, and support each other, community of practice, and later with each team to have this safe space to adapt this, their context, okay?
So create the experiment and design before the kickoff, communicate, give some structure, in this case, two spaces, one with all the people and one to adapt to their own needs of the teams, and align in a safe space, human safe space, and around be aligned, self-managed.
Okay. And now the fourth step, yes.
So the community of practice, which is the shared space for all the teams, was it a mandatory like meeting or whatever for the people, or was it optional?
Wasn't optional.
Yeah.
If you force anyone, okay, this is not a good idea. So trust in people. Maybe first time go 10 people, next one 50. If you give value, the people go. If they don't see value, they don't go.
You can guess that people has a lot of fears at the beginning. When a the company formally communicates that you will be a self-manager, everybody is, what, a lot of questions. So if you generate a space and you explain why in a very good way, people go there because they need to ask, they need answers. Sometimes you think that they're gonna ask you very complex questions about self-management. No. It's what about my tickets, my budget, my car, because I had a car before and now I'm not manager, I have a car or not. So these questions sometimes is what emerged from these common spaces at the beginning, of course.
Are you going to talk about the resistance and all these troubles like people resisting? And because you said if you force someone, it's not going to happen, but there are people that you really need to force until they see the added value, and are very, very difficult.
Yeah, you have to manage. You have to manage.
You have also this resistance thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk later about some obstacles we had.
But here, the key aspect is about supporting each other. We create a space not for you, for us. So you support you and you support the other people. So this is the key. It's not about anyone, it's about all of us. All of us are in the same boat.
This is why we think it's very important to generate first these two levels of spaces and confidence, and later you can go forward with more technical details as what self-managed is, what is agile, and that kind of things. Okay?
Can you write your question? Because if not, maybe we can talk here for about the entire hour. Okay, please.
Yes, maybe later we're going to explain some details of some questions. Okay, so remember, we co-create with human resources, we create these two spaces, we explain people why. Okay, we start with the community of practice, we start with some sessions with the teams, and later on, in the community of practice, sometimes we start training about self-managed, okay? So what are we going to explain now is what we explain people in these trainings about self-managed, okay? Because for us, it's very important some ideas we have in mind, okay? Self-managed is not to be or not to be a self-managed team, okay? It's not binary, okay? It's an incremental process. You can create your skills, new skills, and it's not a final stage you need to achieve or arrive there. No, it's a journey, okay? So these two ideas we try to teach people because if we don't explain this, sometimes they feel some uncertainty, and sometimes they feel that there is a final result. No, it's a continuous improvement journey, okay? So enjoy the journey, okay?
Think about this training as a practical one. But as a practical that go into the day by day and put in practice things. So it's not about share and to learn what self-management is, blah, 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 okay? Why? Because we talk in this train about models. We use normally 2 models. Why? To help the team understand and be aligned of the journey that they have to travel. So we have 2 different models that we normally use. We have one model that we call it inside and outside model. It's the original one. Go ahead. This model calls self-organization all the things that depends only on the people within the team. So how we make decisions, how we manage work. This is self-organization. And we call self-management to those things that not only depend of people within the team. It depends in other parts of organization. Budgeting, hiring people, and other things. Yes? So why this is important? Because with that model, go ahead. With that model, people and the team view 2 different ways of growth at 2 different speeds. We can grow in more speed with self-organization, and we can grow in other speed with self-management, faster or slower, we don't mind. And why this is important? Because when you put a people and say, okay, let's go and be self-managed, to grow in self-organization is easy. It's only depend of us. But to grow in self-management normally is frustrating because not only depend of us, it depends of the organization. So the people see more easy that they can grow in both different ways.
Yeah. When we talk about these 2 different labels, self-organized and self-managed, for us is different, but for a native English speaker, maybe are 2 concepts that can exchange each other. And if you see in some literature, you can talk about self-organized teams and self-managed teams, and maybe it's the same sometimes. For us, it's different, at different levels of organization. And here, as Diego says, this is a very simple model to understand that all things that depend on us is self-organized, and all the things that depend on the organization outside is more about self-management, okay?
And again, it's not about the label, it's about the meaning, okay? What is the meaning that you are labeling?
Okay, we use another model, a little bit complex, but when maybe teams need to go forward, we use this. This is the authority matrix. We are inspired by the authority matrix of Richard Hackman. I don't know if you have read some books. This is an inspiration because we use in a different way and with different labels, but it's similar in the concept. Okay. This matrix helps us to understand the communication between management and the team. Okay, this is what is showing here. We have these 4 levels, from the manager lead level to the self-governing level, and depending on the level, the authority of the team members is different. So in the first level, the manager lead, the team just has the authority of doing the task. Okay? So the manager has the authority about the process, about review the result, about the reporting outside the team. Okay? The next step, the self-organizing. So now the team has the authority about the task, of course, and about how manage the work, and we can decide about the how we work. We use Scrum, we use Kanban, we're going to use this way, we're going to have a retro, not, okay? So the team can have the authority about decide how to work. In the next level, when we are talking about self-manage, is a next level because the team has the authority about management tasks. We know this is a big box, we're going to explain later, but it's a different level, okay? Because here we can decide about using a Scrum, but we don't decide about how we manage our holidays and who approves. Okay, this could be a management task. Okay, and the last level, the self-governing, is where the team has the whole authority about setting the direction and goals about the team. This is very strange to find just in boards of directors, teams, or small startups, or small companies at the beginning, okay? Because they are small teams at the beginning, and they can decide about their direction, okay? So, as you can see, the level 1, 2, and 4 are simple, and the key is here when we use this model, because it's a big box of management tasks, okay? So we support in other two different, that maybe you know, tools to help these teams to understand what are these management skills, okay? So do you know the maturity skill matrix tool? Raise your hand, how you knows, okay? So simple, the rows are the team members, the columns are some skills we decided we need in this team, and you have different levels from 1 to 5, and you can play with colors in order to understand what is the maturity of this team regarding skills we need to be self-managed, okay? And the other tool, maybe you know as well, is the delegation board of Management 3.0. Here you can find 7 different levels of delegation, and we can support this with a board when you can see the different levels of delegation, the team member or team members that we're going to work with this delegation, and the management task here. We're going to work for delegating between the manager and the team. Okay? So for us, with this tool, everything that is delegated from 5 onward is a really self-managed team, because the delegation is on the team member, it's not in the manager. So 1, 2, 3, manager has the authority. In the 4 level is an agreement between team members and the manager, and 5 level and onward is the team members that has this authority. Okay, so real self-managed delegation is from 5 and onward level. Okay.
So those are 2 visions of the same thing. So which one to use? That one that helps more to your team. Why is that? Because there is no perfect model, and the mission of a model is to help to be aligned and to understand in this case, the journey of a self-management team. So the first one, if you don't mind, the first one, if you want to add only a little bit complexity, this is a very powerful model in a systemic view. Okay, only 2 directions, it's simple but powerful. The second one, if you don't mind to add some complexity and you need more structure, your team needs more structure, go and use the second one. In this case, with the 5 teams, we had to use the 2 models. because some people understand better one and some people understand better the other.
Okay.
Okay?
So remember, we are talking about training, and we talk about all these models. And other interesting topic we like to talk about in our trainings is about myths. Okay, because there are some myths regarding self-managed. Okay.
The first one is that we are all equal. The team normally start with that statement, but as they grow, they see that this is not completely true. Why? Because talking about power, in all self-managed teams, all people are equal, have the same power. Okay? Everyone have the right to voice their word and to make decisions, to participate in a decision making. So talking about power, this is true. But it's not the same in authority. To trust in someone and to trust in their opinion is very subjective. So it's not the same, talking about authority. Here we have a little metaphor that imagine that you are going to learn to dance, a couple dance, okay? And you are going to dance, and so it is not think about whether if we whether step on each other. It's about think about when we step on each other. It's about the learning process. So in the teams, it's the same. Helps a lot to talk about how we will manage the conflicts in the future. Okay? So talking about power, we are all equal. But talking about authority, okay, let's keep it in mind. So help your teams to keep these things in mind.
Okay, another myth. We have full autonomy. We can do whatever we want. Okay, we are self-managed. Okay, this is maybe it could be a problem. Okay, because we always have constraints and limits. We are living maybe as a team into a department or an area and a company and a city and a country. So we have boundaries, we have constraints, and we have limits. That the most important thing is that you need to understand where are your limits. Maybe sometimes to try to expand these limits, or sometimes just to know that there is a limit with the organization, and this process we cannot change anything, and we cannot trespass with these limits. Okay. So we are not completely full autonomy of doing whatever we want, okay? So this is very interesting because we need to explore these limits, and we help teams to explore where are the limits inside the organization. But this is a myth if we think as a team that we have full autonomy, completely full autonomy, okay?
Okay, next one. Self-management is better than hierarchy. Okay, this is not true. There are two different structures. So hierarchy gives stability, structure, order, control. And self-management gives us collective intelligence, adaptation, flexibility. So they are different. So depends on the context. Maybe if you are in a context where all the things are already built or a very regulated context, maybe hierarchy gives you more value. And if you are in an innovative context or in a complex one, maybe self-management gives you more value. So think about context. Okay,
so in these trainings, we like to explain some key concepts, key aspects for us are very interesting about this topic of self-managed. The first is the global vision of work, okay? Because now in a self-managed team, it's not about my work, it's not about your work, it's about our work, okay? And this not means that the individual responsibility is diluted. No, it's how we balance between individual responsibility in this work, in this task, with the global responsibility. So we, as a team, have the global responsibility of these works go forward, okay? So this is a very interesting, in order people can understand that now the global responsibility of the work is important. Okay.
So, self-managed teams. There are two parts, self-managed and teams. And it's very easy to forget to work in the team part. A team is not a group of people and to have a common goal. Is something more. Is to have real trust and collaboration. So if you don't work and to be a real team, maybe you have problems in the future about making decisions all together with the diversity that normally a team has, or to manage conflicts because there is not a manager. So please don't forget, work in the self-managed part, but also don't forget to work in the team part.
Making decisions, okay, is a key aspect when we are talking about teams in general, but in self-managed team, we think is more important because we see here two different risks when we are talking about making decisions. The first risk is that decisions can postpone infinitely sometimes, because maybe there is a lack of responsibility, there is a lack of authority, there is a misunderstanding of things, I don't know, maybe a skill matrix and delegation board can help to avoid this lack of responsibility or authority, but sometimes we see that self-managed teams try to postpone sometimes decisions, okay? So this is very important to boost sometimes this decision and take the safe environment to take the decisions. And the second risk we work in our trainings is that maybe sometimes in traditional environment we just use 1, 2, or no more than 3 decision-making processes. So sometimes the first tool we use is I'm the boss, and what I said is what are we gonna do? Okay, this is the first in a hierarchical. When we are more democratic, sometimes we use the majority plus 1. So what the majority plus 1 says, this is how make decisions. And sometimes when we involve this in a traditional way, we work with some kind of consensus, okay? But we don't have more techniques to make decisions, okay? So here is very interesting, teach people in more tools to make decisions. For example, concept that come in and disagree, okay? So I disagree with your opinion, but I'm committed with the decision, and I'm gonna tell you in the decision-making process, okay? Or maybe the consent or advice process from sociocracy, okay? Are interesting process for making decisions in another way of a traditional one, okay? So train people in all these concepts so that they can have more options to make decisions, okay? So this is a very key aspect for us.
So, talking about conflicts, a team always has conflicts. So, it is not about self-management, it's about human beings. So, don't forget, as I said before, talk before the conflicts emerge helps a lot. And other thing that you have to keep in mind is that in a self-managed team, there is no manager. And in a traditional team, the manager holds power and, well, in some situations, resolve the conflicts. So it's very important in a self-managed team to know how to handle conflicts and how to manage them. So please, it's very important that you help teams to learn how to manage conflicts.
Okay, so more in depth with the journey. Okay, so at this moment we have talked about how we co-created. Remember the 4 steps, okay? We co-created with the organization. We aligned people all together in the whys, why self-managed. We created 2 different spaces, structure, the community of practice and the tier level, and we had some trainings, okay? So what we did more in depth?
Well, the last thing, talking about the training, is to show these 4 levels of taking care to all the people in the teams. Why? To nurture the evolution of the self-management teams. So we have 4 levels. The first level is an individual level of people. The first, doubts, the growth, how they are feeling, motivation. Second level, team level. How we are dealing with culture, responsibilities, work management, so on. Third level, how is our relationship with the manager, with each director? It's very important to nurture that relationship because to be aligned, what are the expectations, and to have a safe space to talk in a bidirectional way is very important for the evolution of the teams. And the last one, organizational level, how the team is dealing with other parts of the organization, with dependencies, communication, continuous improvement, the future within the organization of the team. So we help all the people to always keep in mind these 4 levels.
Regarding the community of practice, in more detail, we started with a weekly meeting. We spent around 2 hours, more or less. Remember, we started taking care of the experience we had in our different teams, supporting each other, sharing different experiments. Maybe we started. We used this community of practice, remember, for these pills of knowledge about self-managed. And we started co-creating the self-managed model for the rest of the organization, okay? Because we had a checkpoint with the organization, with the board of directors, every 3 months, okay? So the community of practice was this space to talk about all these things, okay? We start for a weekly meeting of 2 hours more or less because people had a lot of worries and fears, and it was interesting. And later on, with time, we moved this meeting out to once a month, okay? When we had these meetings once a month, we spent more or less 4 hours, more or less, okay?
Okay, and at the team level, they had their own spaces to work, and also we had the weekly where we will handle, we see how they were handling self-management itself and the day-by-day problems. We have the monthly prioritization and the retrospectives, the continuous improvement. And then we have the quarterly where we review the team goals, the growth at an individual level and at team level, and review the 4 levels of taking care.
Okay, but not everything is wonderful, and we have here some obstacles, real situations we found, okay, in this journey. So the first obstacle, real situation, we call the proxy manager, okay? So in one team, the director didn't trust too much in the team and in this model, so he set a person. He wasn't part of the team, so it was another person outside the team. But this manager, but he wasn't a manager officially.
It's more an informal manager.
Informal
It
manager.
was not a formal manager, so strange figure there.
Yeah, so the team had to report him from some issues. This person managed, for example, holidays, vacation, approved, and that kind of things. So it was a strange situation, okay? Because it's not white, it's not black. How says Karate Kid about this?
Karate yes, karate no, but in the middle is no.
Okay, in the middle is the worst. Okay, so what we do? Deal with it. Okay, we couldn't change this organizational design problem, and the takeaway we have here is that have measures can create significant problems in the future. Okay, and as you maybe guess, that the root cause of this is that this manager didn't buy the self-managed experiment, okay? So he said yes, but the reality was no, and I'm gonna put this person to take care and report me, okay?
Okay, another real situation. There was a team that they are not receiving important information from them. So they discovered that they weren't being included in some managers' forums. So as you know, there in a manager forum there are some sensitive information, and well, you need some trust to manage that. So two things. Well, nobody thinks in the team because they had no manager, so nobody thought to include them in that forum. And the other thing, nobody said that, but it's true, is that they don't trust in the people because they weren't managers. So what we did, people had to create trust about be in that forums, managing sensible information, and also had to create a specific process to be involved as a team and not as an individual.
In a hierarchical structure, you have some forum when you talk about fires, hires, and if you are not a manager, you are not invited. Okay, and in these new creation teams, there were no manager, formal manager. So why you have to come to this meeting? Okay. Next obstacle is connected is the lack of authority. Okay, because you are invited to a meeting to take these global decisions and to talk about management tasks and that kind of things, but you are not a formal manager. So when we are making the decision, you don't have the authority. Your opinion doesn't have authority here. Okay, and this is another problem we realized another team had. Okay, or the members of the team that were to these trainings, to this meeting. Sorry. So what we did, we work in two different levels. From the director of the area, he reinforced the authority of these team members, okay, and the competencies with other areas, okay. And another level, we work with the other managers of the areas. We took some conversations to explain the self-managed model, and we had to assure that they had understood the experiment and what we were looking for, okay?
And the fourth situation we bring you here, performance management. Ouch. This is a very painful one. Why? Well, here we have a very traditional process that normally is linked to financial things, money. So it's very difficult to change. Another aspect is that normally the responsible of the process is the manager of the team, and a self-management team don't have a manager. And the third one is that only focus at an individual level. But in a self-managed team, you also need some collective aspects. So, what we did? The first thing is to involve HR to help them understand why we had to adapt this process to the self-organized teams, and work with them to create a new one adapted. So in that process, we made two important things. The first one is to give the responsibility from the manager to each person of the team. Okay? And then the final agreement was at a team level. But the responsibility is not manager. Everyone is responsible of their own development process. Okay? And the second thing that we did was the process was two parts. A common part to all the teams, and a more flexible one to adapt that necessities that each team needs. So, takeaways, Sirla.
Yes, just to finish in, we have some takeaways and learns from this journey with this company. Okay. First takeaway: adaptability is the key to evolve, and in order the process of change can be success. Okay. Remember, we have different people, different teams with different contexts, different situations, different feelings, and you have a plan. But later, of course, we are from the agile mindset. Adaptation is the key. Okay. So bear in mind.
Next is not about the final destination. It's about the journey. Okay? You have to live the journey. It needs time to evolve.
And it's not to be or not to be. It's like sugar. You decide how much sugar you add to your coffee depending on situation, on depending your feelings, or I don't know. But you decide the level of sugar, the level of self-manage this team want or can have on the organization.
Okay, there is a saying that say that in theory and practice is the same. In practice, they are not. So this is not about how much you know about self-management. It's about to put it in practice, to help the team to evolve. Okay? So we always say that nobody learned to swim from a book.
Okay. Interesting this. Remember that self-managed team has two parts, self-managed and team. If you don't work in the team concept first, you will have maybe a lot of problems in the future. So first you need a team, and later you can work in a self-managed team. But you need a real team. Okay, not a group of people working together. A team. Okay.
And in our experience, most of the people that work with self-management have more ownership, that leads to more responsibility, that leads to more motivation, that leads to have more engagement. And that also leads to create more impact in the organization. So at this time, most of the companies are looking for people more engaged and to create more impact. So maybe a solution could be to try self-management.
And remember, repeat with us, self-managed is not better than hierarchy. Okay? Remember that are different structures for different purpose, for different motivations, for different moments of an organization or a team. So decide how to use the best of them. Okay?
Well, that's all. So we are putting here some reference if you want to go in deeper in that subject.
Yeah, we have some reference in Spanish, sorry, but we think with the subtitles in YouTube is good enough. But this is a very interesting podcast here, Autogestión, Self-Managed in Spanish, from Pancho Mora. He's a Mexican good guy. He has hundreds of interviews with people from self-managed organization and models. Okay, so it's very interesting. You can hear these interviews. Okay.
And here we have some companies that we know firsthand that they are evolving or testing self-management things. So don't be shy and talk with them, talk with us, and there are so many more. So go LinkedIn and search for them, and don't be shy. Contact. Normally, they are all good people. Good people. So go ahead.
And that's all. So thank you very much. I don't know, we have time for some questions, Sylvia, or not?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
One question. Give me one KPI you improve with self-organized teams. One tangible KPI.
Yeah, this is a very difficult thing because it is not about final destination. It's about the journey. For this thing, we involve the directors to be the progression, the evolution. And this is not only,
The problem is if you talk to management and they say, give me one KPI
yeah,
improvement. So give me a reason, basically, a tangible reason.
Which are the metrics we use sometimes, and it's very interesting how it depends on the team, okay? Because it's not the same the team that has a proxy manager, that it wasn't a real self-managed. But for example, the time for delivery of things was faster in the 5 teams. Depending on, for example, in the events, they were managing events, so the delivery was the event one day in one date. So this was not the speed for delivery, it's more the speed for changing things, the speed of adapting to the change in this team, for example, was better in a self-managed because people has the ownership of the team and they remove a lot of meetings, for example. For us, this is very interesting. The number of meetings is a very good metric, okay? Maybe it's not a value metric, but in this kind of teams, if you have a real team and you have the process of a global vision of the work, we use Kanban. No, nothing revolutionary, but real Kanban boards and that kind of things. So the vision of the global work helps one member to answer questions for one manager that in other case I have to ask and I have to create a meeting and ask another people. So maybe the time for responding things were faster in some cases because these 5 teams were too different, okay? So the metrics were completely different, okay? A procurement team is completely different to an event team.
I know your point, but if you only go this way, you are going to fall. Why? Because you need some concrete numbers, but you need to see that the evolution is the key. I see a talk of Simon Sinek that say, how much you love to your wife? Put a number. And say, okay, no, I know I love her. I don't know how much. In the organization is some kind of different because you need concrete numbers, okay, about value, but you have to involve the directors, the relevant persons in the organization to see the evolution in the day-by-day or monthly basis, okay? This is a key question, and we can discuss. It's not an easy question, but...
And one internal, I don't know if it's a metric or not, but people that start working on this way doesn't want to go to a traditional way of working. So they feel more comfortable and the engagement is better. So if you have some surveys on that kind of things, you ask people at the beginning of the experiment and you ask 3 months later, how are you feeling on this team, how you are comfortable, would you like to go to another team and that kind of things. So nobody wants to go to the past. Okay, so I think this is a very interesting from the employee experience metrics. Okay, I don't know how is the...
Is first.
It's a bit related, but how did you get buy-in from management to do this? And
Sorry?
what was the budget you got and how long did it take?
The budget we had, and
Yeah, to do this, and how did you get there?
this was 2 years, more or less, of experiment.
When we left the teams, that they are still in the organization, 2 years. The first 2 years we accompany them.
Yeah,
And the budget was the budget that had the teams and the department. So
yeah. So the real question is, how did it really start? And because yeah, it started with working with the people. Before that, we had to stand in boat or something, and they had to approve it. So how did you go?
yeah, this was the co-creation process with HR. So we had a co-creation process with HR and the organization to understanding the experiment, why the experiment, and which teams would be selected for the experiment. So it was a co-creation process. This is the step one of our talk. But this is very important because we decided with the organization, the teams, and HR was the key.
And
First step, management was involved in the co-creation.
in the co-creation
Yeah.
is the key, because it's not something that I said to
we
you.
didn't
It's about
explain
something that
here.
we created together.
Yes, this one.
Yeah.
Co-creation process with HR and with the organization is the key for this, okay?
Just sorry to jump the queue, but did you ever do it outside of kind of not having that mandate, not having that,
It's
or is it kind of part of your process to have that agreement with the organization, HR, management?
It's a continuous improvement day by day. So the first step was to involve and to, okay, who is the sponsor of all of this? The organization. Okay, that's what. Go.
And we were external consultants, but we were part of the transformation 2 years before. So we were a mix of external and internal, and we work together with all.
With
people
a
of
real
the
collaboration.
organization. Yeah.